Hi, welcome back to On the Road. This is Dartmoor National Park. My name's Rich and this is my Honda Africa Twin CRF1100. I've owned this bike a short while now and I want to do a real owner's review for you so you guys can see what it really is like to own the Honda Africa Twin. So first of all, for context, it is a little bit about me. So I've been riding since I was about, well, legally 16 on the road, riding a little bit before that. I've had a lot of different bikes over the years and I've done a lot of miles. Just last year I did about 22,000 miles around Europe. And so I've been through lots of different types of bikes and I've settled on the adventure bike market. It fits my needs best. So this bike may be the best bike for me, but maybe not necessarily for you. Something about these reviews I always like to point out is this is just one man's opinion, it's mine. So I want to take you for a ride on my Africa Twin. We'll have a little talk about what I love about the bike, what I hate about the bike. I'm going to show you the modifications I've made to the bike and the things that I still want to do. Now the Honda Africa Twin has been around a while and that must be for good reason. You know, there's some stiff competition in the adventure bike market and adventure touring. And the Africa Twin's been around a while, and with the new 2024 model coming this year, I'm excited to see what it's got. Let's get on the bike, we'll take it for a spin, and we'll have a chat about it. So this is my Honda Africa Twin. I've had this one now, I don't know, maybe 2 months, something like that. I bought it at 5,000 miles, and I'm about 8.5 in, something like that. So I've done a few thousand miles on this one now in a fairly short space of time. And here are my thoughts. So soon after test riding the Africa Twin, I knew really that this is the one for me. And like I say, I've done a few thousand miles on this one now. I've done a bit of everything. I like to find these single track lanes. I like to do some long distance trips. We've done a fair bit of motorway. And yeah, so this is one of the reasons that I love the Africa Twin. All day cruising ability. You can set the cruise control to 70 miles an hour, sit behind this nice Puig adjustable screen, put your heated grips on if you need it, use the controls to set up your music and you know, listen to your blog or whatever you like to do through your center. It's a perfect touring bike and yeah, I have found this bike to be a great all-rounder in the few thousand miles that I've done. So I can only have one bike, so it's really important I have a bike that does do it all. Something that I'm happy pootling around on a Sunday, you know, knocking around over Dartmoor National Park, but also something that's going to take me long distance. You know, it's going to take me across Europe in comfort. It's going to carry everything I need. I need something that's, you know, not going to cost a bomb on fuel and stuff, but you know, also it's still going to give me plenty enough entertainment when I twist the throttle. And Yeah, I have to say the Africa Twin has a fantastic engine. I've been really enjoying this bike. So I think the Africa Twin 1100 is in the Goldilocks zone. I'm always saying that I think about 100 horsepower and 100 torque is about the, like I say, the Goldilocks zone. This is where there's enough fun and power to enjoy yourself, but it doesn't make you be really silly, you know, and do stupid things. I've had some really powerful bikes in the past and I ride it like a moron, and it's the bike's fault. The bike wants to do it, don't blame me. So now my priorities have changed and I want to be comfortable. I want to be sat upright, you know, I want to be able to ride my bike for 10 hours and still be able to enjoy my evening and get up and go again the next day, and that is exactly what this bike offers me, to be fair. The comfort levels on this bike is really, really good. So like I say, I did test ride this bike, and there are some things that you don't notice in an hour test ride that you do notice over time. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about now. So like I say, 3,500, 4,000 miles, whatever I've done on this one, and the comfort is fantastic. I've got absolutely no complaints with the seat at all. The seat's great and spend all day on it. I know there's been a few people online and they've got complaints about the seat, but not for me, I have to say. Watch out for the horses here. Some young ones here, they're a bit skittish. Beautiful place to talk to you from though, isn't it? So lucky to have this sort of thing on our doorstep. It's fantastic. We really are lucky in the UK, but I digress. So comfort. The seat is fantastic. I really like these handlebars actually. I don't know if you can see this, but they're sort of swept back a little bit here, and that really takes off a lot of pressure on the wrists. I've put the rocks risers on my bike, and so I am sat bolt upright on this bike. My shoulders and elbows are in a bent, nice relaxed position. It's a large comfy seat. I can move around on it, move forwards and backwards, and it has two height positions as well, and that does make a big difference actually. I believe the seat is adjustable by about 20 mil, but that 20 mil to me makes a massive difference, but it does have a drawback, particularly for me because I'm not particularly tall. So I find in the low position I can touch the floor, I'm flat-footed almost, no problem at all. So I'm about 5'7" and I have a 30-inch inseam. So I'm not the tallest fella. However, I do find with the seat in the low position that cramps up my legs just a little bit on the longer journeys. So I put the seat into the higher position, and that is much more comfortable on the legs, and you know, I can do much longer stints like that. However, it does reduce you know, reach to the ground a little bit, so you know, there's a bit of a trade-off there for me. But if you're taller than me, then that's not an issue, but it's a personal thing. So 8,000 miles rode round on the Africa Twin, and that meant it is time for its first service in my possession. So I've had a look through the manual, and other than all the usual checks, which in all fairness you should be doing most of the time, you know, lubricating things and chain and, you know, all that sort of stuff, it basically came down to an oil change and filter. So I did that myself. If you're fairly competent, there's nothing difficult about it. Oh, in fact, I made a video for you, so I'll link that above now. You can have a look at how to do that if you're if yours is due. Watch out, sheeps. So yeah, if yours is due, to be honest with you, if your bike is outside of the warranty period, then personally I'd be doing it myself, which is exactly what I did. It can get very expensive when you go to the garage every 5 minutes, especially if you do the miles that I do. So I've done a lot of modifications to the bike, mostly for my comfort and to protect the bike. I'll show you those now. So one of the first things we all do when we get a new motorbike is we have to make it our own. Not just for our own comforts and ergonomics to make it fit ourselves, but our own style and how we're going to use the bike. So I'm going to show you around mine, and I'll show you some of the modifications that I've done to my Africa Twin. So one of the first things I always do to any new bike, no matter how long you've been riding or how experienced you are, unfortunately, drops and falls do happen. And I want to protect my bike before that happens. So one of the first things I always fit to my bikes, all of my bikes, is the bark busters. These metal handguards are going to protect the bike if it goes down. I have tested these in the past, not on this bike yet, but I have tested them, and they are very effective. The combination of the bark busters and then the crash bars here has allowed me to have a fairly decent off, shall we say, and I was able to pick the bike up and carry on with my trip. At the time I was riding in Poland, and you know, that would have been hugely problematic, even if I'd just broken a lever or I was unable to get the bike going again. So I was very thankful to have those. First job I do, always fit crash protection, bark busters, engine guards, and on this bike here I also have these rear guards as well, protecting the side of the bike if it should go down. So with the bark busters, you buy the metal frame, the guard, specific for your motorcycle model. Then you can buy the plastic guards that go on front, and there are different types and different colours and stuff, but it doesn't matter which plastic you have, provided that the metal guard is specific to your bike. The engine bars fitted to my bike are the SW Motec. They're kind of hard to see because I've got them covered up with these Lomo crash bar dry bags. These are definitely worth mentioning. I've actually got a video on these, I'll put a link above. These are very affordable, excellent dry bags, and they also help with the protection of the bike as well. As I mentioned, I had an off in Poland, and I also had the Lomo bags on that bike, and they were scuffed up and there was a bit of damage to the bark busters, but other than that I was able to get on my way. And that's because this is nice and padded to keep the rest of the bike off the ground should it go over. So not only are they extremely useful to carry your bits and pieces in, but it'll also help protect your bike should it go over. Really recommend those. Moving around the bike, I have the Black Widow exhaust system. I'll leave links to all these parts in the description below, so if you fancy it you can go and find it yourself. This is the longer oval can, and I'm glad I didn't go any shorter because it would probably be too loud for me in the miles that I do. In this case I do have the baffle in. I took the baffle out and wow, it sounded fantastic, but it did lose a lot of back pressure, and you know, it was really noticeable. So I put that baffle back in. The ride's more enjoyable, it's not obnoxiously loud, and it definitely runs a lot better. So I recommend keeping the baffle in. So on the back of the bike I have the SW Motec luggage rack, and on top of that I have the V56 Monarchy top box from Givi. So the thing about these top boxes is that, yes, I know they look really ugly, but they're just so useful. You can secure your things in there safely. You can put your helmet in there when it's raining and walk away. Keep your locks and bits and pieces in there. It's essential. So far, I have been fighting off the side panniers, but again, they're so useful once you have them. It is hard to do without, especially when you're touring. But at the moment, I've been using soft luggage, and that's been working well for me so far. Moving up top, in the front of the bike, we have the ROX risers. These are fully adjustable risers. They come in two sizes, so for this bike you'll need the larger 28mm size for the fat bars. And I really like these. It just helps make the bike fit me better. I'm sat bolt upright in a comfortable position. But this is a very personal thing. But what I like about these is that you can adjust it to any angle that you like, and it gives you that extra height. No issues with the cables on this, for those who'd like to know. The original cables reach, not a problem at all. Now, every adventurer needs a sat-nav. You know, I've tried touring with a phone and stuff, and it's an absolute nightmare. I've used various sat-navs, and this one is by far the best one I've had. This one doesn't send us down rubbish green lanes and stuff, unless you ask it to. It's got various modes and stuff on it, but I like this one. It's simple to use, it's done as well. It's took us all around Europe with no problems at all. We don't even plan a route when we go somewhere. There's a slider on here, and you can just move the slider along for a twistier route or direct route, avoid motorways, avoid tolls, and away you go. It's fantastic. So this one just sits on its holder there and simply clips on and off with the button at the top. Something else I'd really recommend for these Garmin sat-navs is that when you take it off, when you get to, you know, where you're going for security, you can get these padded soft bags online. They're not very expensive at all, 10 or 12 quid, but we learnt very quickly that if you keep putting your sat-nav in the top box or whatever loose, you will scratch the screen up. So do yourself a favour, get yourself one of these. Again, I'll put links in the description for you. Next up, we have the Oxford hot grips. Absolutely essential, especially for all year riding. You know, I've had built-in ones from different bikes before. I know the Honda Africa Twin does come with some OEM ones. Eva's got those on her bike, but I'll leave her to tell you about that. But for me, these Oxford hot grips are the best on the market, and I always fit them to any bike that I have. No brainer, get them on. On the side of the tank, we have these 3D gel stickers. And not only do I think they look great, but they really protect the side of the tank. Your knees and stuff are going to be rubbing around this area, and it makes a mess of the tank pretty quickly. So, you know, for the sake of a few quid on what they cost, they're a no-brainer for me. And again, put them on any bike. There is a full set of these decals you can buy as well, so there's plenty more to add. Lastly, we have up front this plastic headlight guard. I know it doesn't look the best, but they're inexpensive, and if a stone comes up and hits those headlights, you're going to know about it when you pay the bill to replace it. So I know you can get some really nice looking black grille ones, but they've got large holes for it and they are going to let the stones through. So I've opted for the plastic one. Okay, it takes away from the looks, but it could well save you an awful lot of money. So I found when it comes to looking after the bike, other than checking your tyre pressures regularly, I've had no issues there. You know, check the chain, of course. That one's not really needed much tension in either. That's been very good. You know, the bike's been great to look after. It started on the button every time. I do use mine regularly, so I don't bother with a trickle charger. I use it almost daily. But I've had zero maintenance issues with the Africa Twin. There are so many settings and buttons to play with on this bike. Now, I did mention when I originally tested it that that was my one objection to this bike, if I'm honest, was the electronics package is very complicated. Now, once you've used it for a little while, yes, you do get used to it. And to be honest with you, like all the electronics on these, you know, new modern bikes now, once you've found what you like and you've set the settings, you're probably not going to muck around with it very much, to be honest with you. So don't let the complicated electronics put you off, especially if you're not, you know, tech savvy. Don't worry about it at all. You're going to find the settings you like and you're probably going to leave it there. It is only a manually adjustable rear suspension on this one, not electronic suspension, and that has caused me no problems at all. So things that I don't like about the Africa Twin. Well, the list is pretty short, to be honest with you. What can I say? No, it's great. No, maybe one of the only things I could find is perhaps wind protection isn't the very best. Oh, I've got the Puig screen on mine. I didn't mention that when I was showing you the mods, but yeah, I've got the Puig adjustable screen, so we have that in a high setting. That does a good job, to be honest with you, but I know that there are some winglets and a little gizmo here that goes on the front of the tank here, between the tank and the forks. I don't know if that does very much, but they're not expensive, so I might invest and see if it does anything for me. But yeah, other than that, no problems at all. I love that the bike feels very grounded and very stable. We were in some really poor conditions the other day, wind and rain and stuff, and you know, the bike feels stable and secure all the time. I really love it. Goes exactly where I want it to go. Although on paper it's a fairly heavy bike, moving it around doesn't really cause me any problems at all. I've got a centre stand on this bike. Oh, again, I don't think that's in the mods. There might be a lot of them. But yeah, I believe that is also a SW Motec centre stand. You don't get one on the L variant of the Africa Twin. You definitely need one. You definitely need it for your chain maintenance, and also remember that these bikes are tube tyres. So if you get a puncture, you're going to need to whip that off, and again, you will need that centre stand, so you know, you're going to need one of those. So, would I recommend the Africa Twin 1100? Now, I'm not a paid reviewer, I don't work for a magazine or anything like that, so I give you my honest opinion in these things, and yes, absolutely I would. It's an 1100cc bike. It is fairly big and powerful. It's probably not the best first bike, but you know, once you got a little bit of experience, there's no reason at all why you can't jump on one of these, as Eva did after only 1 year of riding. She'll tell you her thoughts on hers when she does her owner review. But you know, there's so many settings on this and electronics that although it's an 1100cc engine, if you have those electronics on, it doesn't do anything untoward. It doesn't do anything scary. You'll be able to use this one no problem at all and cover a great deal of mileage in it in comfort with the traditional Honda reliability. Now, the Honda Africa Twin does come in another variant. They have the Adventure Sports, which they say is primarily for road use. However, for me, it does come with a couple of problems. It is a lot taller than the L, and that does cause a huge problem for me. Having said that, on the flip side, it does have tube-less tyres, and that's a lot easier for repairing punctures. So, you know, there's a lot of swings and roundabouts choosing between the two. I guess that comes down to you and your preferences, but the height ruled that one out for me. But I'm very happy with the L variant, and you know, although Honda say it is the off-road version, for me, you know, this is a perfect tourer. I love it. So I've only owned the bike a couple of months. There's a few more things that I need to do, and obviously for me, you know, I like to put big miles on my bike, so I'll keep you updated, you know, with ownership reviews and modifications that I do. Let me know, if you will, if you own an Africa Twin, let me know the mods that you've done or anything else that you recommend. You know, a couple of things I'm thinking about is side panniers and luggage so that I'm able to carry more. And also probably a quick shifter in time as well. Eva was lucky enough to get one fitted on her bike, so I haven't tried that out yet. I need to take a go on Eva's bike and try it out, but then I'll probably realise what I'm missing. But yeah, any other modifications that you know of that you think I might need, let me know in the comments. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you again on the road next time. Thanks for joining me.